Hey, Fitheads. Today we talk with Anthony Beven. He is a certified nutritional detox specialist, certified live blood analyst. He's a wellness coach. He has a bunch of things to help you detox. And turns out Max and I are pretty toxed. And 80% of you fitheads have parasites.
Yeah, real toxed. It's funny because detox is always one of those things where I'm like, yeah, whatever, I'll get to it when I get to it. And then what he was describing, he was like, well, do you eat a lot of eggs and bacon and chicken? And I'm like, oh God, yeah, that's really bad. So it was, oh yeah. And he was like, do you like look at your deodorant? I was like, no. Oh my God. I'm like, at least I don't do hair products or makeup products as much as the next gal. But yeah, it was.
I did switch since Erin Comstock. You remember that episode?
Yeah,
she was like, "You got to get better deodorant." So clearly, I'm fine now because that one thing, and then all of the makeup I buy at CVS, which is clearly quality, is not concerning.
Yeah.
Oh, tampons. Oh
yeah.
No, that's like inside
water. The water.
Oh no.
And I was like, dude, whatever. I drank Fiji Evian bottle, whatever, soda water. Vodka water. And he was like, what about your shower? And I was like, oh God, no. Like I didn't even think about that. But it was fun. I mean, it was great. There's a lot of, it was a fun one because it was one of those ones where you're like, oh, I didn't even think about that. I'll take another look at that. Or I didn't even realize I should, how much like a squeeze of lemon or some Himalayan salt in my water in the morning would go a long way. Or I didn't even realize how much, cleaning out my diet in this way would help over the long term. It was good. It was Tox Talk, right?
Tox Talk.
Welcome to Total Fitheads.
Serious fitness for not so serious people.
Hi, Anthony. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so nutritional detox specialist. Can we just get right into it? Tell me about detox, why I should care about them, why I shouldn't listen to people saying it's not useful.
Well, I think people associate detox with the fad stuff, right? Like Herbalife and detox teas. And not that there's not detox teas out there that work, but there's a lot of fake stuff out there that that people are being pulled into, and I think that's what medical professionals and other health and wellness professionals have labeled detox as, it doesn't work. But when you take a nutritional science approach to detox and address things like gut microbiome, the accessory organs, enzyme functionality, mineral restoration, that's a whole new ball game. For instance, I have a certification in nutritional detox. I also have taken graduate level courses in gastrointestinal physiology and client evaluation. So I think what we're seeing now with the field of detox is you have more people who are coming into the space who are taking that approach of the gut, the enzymes, the minerals, opposed to here, do this, do this shake or do this tea. And unfortunately, people, there's toxins in the food, water, personal care products, in our cookware, and our clothes, for women, tampons. I mean, it's one of those situations where it's like we are exposed daily to toxins, especially women. Like I always tell women, I'm like, why are you drinking the flimsy plastic? I told you about that. And like, oh, I forgot, there's studies out there that people, where people have examined, fecal matter, and they're like, there's a lot of microplastic inside of people. heavy metals, it's one of those things where, yeah, I don't even think people are aware of all the toxins that they're exposed to. Deodorants, aluminums, like, I think there's just a statistic out there, like only 5 to 10% of, I forget the name of that gene, but the breast cancer gene is related to actual breast cancer cases. I would venture to, put a bet on the fact that the other cancer cases are related to aluminum toxicity, because a lot of popular brands contain aluminum, like Secret and Dove. And I was kind of joke with people. I'm like, the secret is it'll kill you. So,
wow. Okay. Most people are not aware. I just recently became aware that I'm full of copper and mercury, like pretty darn high, 3x the recommended.
Well, and a lot of times too, people are like, I don't drink tap water, but you shower in it and it's absorbed into your skin,
Do you have a tap water or a shower filter?
I don't, but I am in the process of, because I get that question a lot. I'm in the process of sourcing a filtration shower head.
Okay. So I was also under the impression that once this stuff is in you, it can't be removed. Like mercury just like lasts in your body forever. That's not the case?
Mercury, yes. Gadolinium, but not all heavy metals. I don't know if you've ever heard of ionic detox foot baths, but I've had clients who had a lot of heavy metals, and they did multiple ionic detox foot baths, and they were able to get some of those levels down. But mercury and gadolinium, I would say, yeah, you're probably not getting those out of your body. You know what I mean? Like those are difficult to get out. And gadolinium is a heavy metal that's found in like the MRI testing. So, I always tell people, be careful, like you don't want to do that contrast. And like, well, they said I have to do the contrast or I can't have my MRI. So, it's one of those things where, you have to be as informed as they are, because they're not gonna tell you anything other than, look, this is what you have to do. And, let's do it. They're not going to give you other options because they don't know other options. Like the medical professionals are they're trained on what the pharmaceutical companies want them trained on, and the pharmaceutical companies sit on the boards of these medical schools, and they dictate curriculum and things like that.
Jeez.
Well, let's back up for 1 second. So, if a detox is getting rid of toxins, can you? I mean, obviously, it's different for every person, but why don't you run us through some of the most common, like before stuff we can stop doing right now, right off the bat? Are there common things that you can tell everyone, or you ask your right when you first meet your clients? What's your checklist of do this, don't do that?
Plant-based eating or vegan eating, really. Like, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's going to take about 35 days for your body to adjust to it, but you're going to feel so much better. And taking specialty supplements. But really what it comes down to is mindset and education and knowledge. So, when you talk to, I mean, like, you got, when you go grocery shopping, like most people don't know the difference in the codes, what's GMO, produce and what's non-GMO produce. So, I would say, if you want to make a change, like, look for the knowledge, right? Like, I mean, I have, on my website, detoxdayspa.com, like I have, like a bundle of, I don't know, it's 24 guides that take people through every aspect of the journey. If they're ready for it, right? So, a dietary and lifestyle guide, a shopping guide, weight loss tips and tricks, cancer detox, hormonal detox. So, I would say the first thing is that they would want to, have the need for detox. And then second, it would be, plant-based or vegan eating, along with water. Do you know how many people don't drink enough water every single day? It's like, I talk to my clients.
How much should we be having?
Everyone's girlfriend.
Right. Well, at the minimum, they recommend 8 to 10 glasses. But some of these people some of these people are like severely dehydrated. So they need to be drinking somewhere between like 12 and 14 glasses of water. And if you can't afford like the higher pH alkaline water, you squeeze a lemon and put like a little pinch of pink salt in it. That'll alkalize it right there. Cause I've heard that before too, where people are like, I can't afford the, alkaline, water, the Essentia or whatever it is. So, yeah, I mean, it just depends, but 8 to 14 glasses, depending on the level of dehydration. And there's a lot of people walking around that are severely dehydrated. I don't know if you've seen some of these people who are obese, and it's like, just fluid buildup in their legs, and it's painful for them to walk. And they're dehydrated because they're not drinking enough water. Waking up in the morning, drinking coffee throughout the day, drinking pop, drinking, juice with a high sugar content. So,
yeah.
I think one thing I think about that is, like you said earlier, is being educated, but it's also being aware. A lot of people don't know to think about that or know to look at that. But then once you are sort of tracking it or thinking about it, then suddenly it's like, oh yeah, my pee is a little dark. I should lighten it up. Or I've only had coffee all morning. I should really think about this. So being mindful of it is a big part of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's probably an accurate statement. You're not, I mean, it's a lifestyle. It's not a diet. Right. So, it's not Weight Watchers. And people get confused with, detox and like weight loss. Like they're not the same, but they bucket the two together. But it takes time to change habits. It's not going to be overnight. They've been eating like this all their entire life. They were raised on processed packaged food and, macaroni and cheese out of a box and things like that.
Good.
It's definitely an awareness thing. And then, you have to constantly keep reminding yourself, like catching yourself. And eventually you kind of transition into a lifestyle where you're like, oh, I'm going to have some raw sushi. And then you end up getting diarrhea for 3 days, and you're like, oh, I gotta get on some diatomaceous earth or get on an anti-parasitic to make sure this doesn't get worse. So once you're in the lifestyle, and I would say it's 6 months to a year to fully detox. Every decade that somebody's been toxic, it's 1 full year of cleaning the body out, and that's being consistent with what your program is.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, because
But-
then, if you sort of fall off the wagon, is that a whole reset or just a setback?
I've seen setbacks. I've seen whole resets, to be honest. Like, I mean, I've had people where they're like, oh my gosh, I was just so hungry. I had 4 large pizzas this weekend. And then, let's say that they had lost this. This is an actual, client scenario. They had lost like 16 pounds. They gained all of it back plus a pound in just one weekend from eating 4, large pizzas. So you can imagine,
we've all been there.
Yeah. So you need the structure, you need the determination, the commitment. Because if you don't have it, then it's like, just eat like you're eating. Like, don't pretend that you want to be something that you're not, and that's that, I don't, if you, like I said, I have a website, detoxdayspa.com. And even on the coaching page, I tell people, like, if you're not serious, don't schedule a consultation. You're wasting your money and your time with me that they could put towards something that they think that they enjoy, which is, like crappy food and or take a nice vacation. You know what I mean? So, I like to deal with people who are serious, like chronically sick, like cancer, hormonal imbalances, major gut issues. So, if somebody's just like, I might be interested, I tell them, that they can purchase my guides bundle and, take it at their own pace.
Yeah, it sounds like you recommend a lot of changes all up front, and that's like kind of intimidating. Or am I reading this wrong? And that it's like a gradual detox versus this like complete life overhaul?
Well, for the chronically sick, it's like a complete life overhaul because some of these people can't get out of bed. Their joints hurt so bad, or if they are able to get out of bed, they're drinking energy drinks mixed with coffee or something like that, just to get themselves through the day and then come back home and crash. So they do require a lot at the beginning. Now, if somebody is like, I eat healthy, I'm vegan, but I'm constipated, I'm bloated, they can get away with, a smaller supplement protocol and, like my guides bundle. Right. So, it just depends on what they're looking for, what their needs are, and, go from there. But the chronically sick people, they're chronically sick. It's gonna lead to cancer if they don't do something quick.
Well, it sounds like sometimes there's clear symptoms. I can't get out of bed. That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
But are there how does one know, like if they're sort of subtler or asymptomatic or whatever, how do you know when you need it, or what are some like red flags you're looking for?
Yeah. So, if it's a phone consultation that I'm doing with people, I'll ask about certain things like, all right, do you have low energy? Yes. Okay. Do you have sleep disruption? Yes. Are you constipated? Yes. Are you having diarrhea a few times a week? Okay. Things like that. So if they're having diarrhea, they've got 80% of Americans have parasites. Get them anywhere. You can get them from anywhere. Walking around barefoot.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you say pets or parasites?
Parasites. But you can get parasites from pets when they're dragging their butt across the carpet and then you're walking on the carpet. So,
think of your parasites as pets, and maybe you just need to, expand your mindset, Allie. Jeez Louise.
My parasite Steven, who lives in so wait, out of the three of us, Max and I both have parasites, according to that stat.
Are you guys having diarrhea like a couple times a week?
No.
Okay. So the other telltale sign of parasites is joint pain and inflammation. And the reason why you have to kind of do all these, Al, you asked earlier about the, do you do everything at once? Like, I mean, you kind of have to. Like, I mean, if you're trying to get rid of parasites and candida, like they feed and they breed within heavy metals. So it's like you gotta get rid of the heavy metals while you're getting rid of the candida and the parasites. So, yeah, it just depends. But yeah, I mean, there's an evaluation that I go through with people over the phone, and then I'm also a certified live blood analyst, so I can take a drop of people's blood, and goes between two microscope slides, and then it goes live on our computer screen, and I can actually see real time how well they're digesting proteins, fats, and sugars, the presence of candida or fungus, heavy metals, parasites, mineral deficiencies. So, when you ask, like what, people, what are, everybody's dealing with the same stuff because everybody's using the same toxic personal care products. Everybody's eating the same toxic foods. And a lot of times people think that there's more than two digestive systems. There's two. There's herbivore and carnivore, and they're completely different. I talk to a lot of people and they're like, well, what about the omnivore digestive system? There's no such digestive system as the omnivore. It's a eating habit. So we are meant to consume. That's why I say plant-based. We are meant to consume majority fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, grains, and then, from that, sorry, I got people messaging me on my Instagram.
Too popular.
I know they're like, he's like asking about, like what he needs for a program. So, everybody's dealing with the same stuff, but, I think if people if you ask somebody about, what's inside of your body and how does your body work, they don't know. So, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, cut back on meat. You don't need to, a lot of the people I talk to, they're eating meat 3 or 4 times a day with meals. They don't need that much meat. They can't digest that much meat, especially when, we're past our 40s. We lose half of our enzyme functionality. And when we enzymes are the metabolic catalyst on the cellular level. So they're like the key that get the car started. And we need mineral cofactors for the enzymes. So, when people, are, eating so much meat, they can't digest it, so they store it. And you see these men and these women walking around with huge guts, and it's because they're consuming way too much meat past their 40s, and they're like, oh, I was working out, in my 20s and 30s, and I was eating how I want. Well, yeah, because you don't know about the accessory organs and what they're responsible for, and you're still eating the same way that you have always been. You got to change the eating, and if you don't, it's you're going to sit around with that visceral fat, and and wish and want for it to be different.
So for these theoretical people that are eating meat 2-3 times a day and maybe are currently speaking right now, what do they replace it with? What's their what do you suggest their main protein source is?
Well, people have this preconception that there's not a lot of protein in vegetable. There is protein, and there's protein in nuts and seeds. So chickpeas, avocados, sweet potatoes are fantastic sources of protein, and it's from those sources that's 100% absorbable. Whereas if you eat a huge piece of steak, you're not absorbing nearly as much as the plant-based proteins that I just mentioned.
Oh, interesting. I feel like I heard the opposite. Huh. So plant-based proteins are actually, better absorbed.
Yes, because our body recognizes it immediately.
And our digestive system is not carnivore, or an herbivore doesn't exist. So we are, an omnivore doesn't exist. So our digestive system is herbivore.
Yes.
Max, you're putting meat in an herbivore digestive system.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's okay. Like, I mean, you just don't need that much meat. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need that. I mean, try it. You'll see that you feel better. And the other, have you ever watched like the Discovery Channel, like when
Vikings?
A lot. No.
Shark Week.
Yeah, right. No, like when a lion they're eating a bunch of grass, they don't eat anything for like 3 days because it takes that long to get through the digestive system. It takes about the same for meat to get through our digestive system. So, like, I mean, in comparison, and they're two complete. I mean, if you look at side by side, herbivore versus carnivore, they're completely different.
So are you pro fasting?
I always tell people this, there's some other health coaches that are like big on like fasting and it works. Fasting is not going to get rid of parasites. Fasting is not going to get rid of candida. Fasting is not going to get rid of heavy metals. Fasting is effective when you have already cleaned your body out, right? So if you want to do a water fast or a juicing fast after you do something like this, and I don't typically recommend like back-to-back detoxing. You always want to give yourself, a couple weeks, maybe a month before you start something else. But fasting can be effective, but I wouldn't say it's level one, and I kind of usually level this out for people. It's like, level one is the nutritional detox, and then level two might be a fasting situation for yourself. And then level three, it really gets into kind of more spiritual, mindset kind of stuff for people to where they can help maintain, the results that they've achieved for themselves.
I love that. So fasting is good for lions. May or may not be good for humans. Can you just, okay, let's do this. Why don't you walk me through what a detox would look like? Am I taking pills? I guess I'm not fasting. That's a really good, because I think a lot of people
or water fasting, right? Sounds like you're not a fan of that.
No, I'm a fan of it. It's just that you like, okay.
Oh, so, sorry. Dry fasting is what I meant. You're saying everyone's dehydrated and we should not stop drinking water.
Well, yeah, everybody. I mean, like, okay, so if you're going to start with a detox, you got to address every single area, right? So, I mean, most of these people are severely dehydrated. They got to start drinking tons of water. Most of these people are, even though they think they're eating healthy, like, I mean, they're probably doing something like eggs, and bacon in the morning, and maybe a yogurt. For lunch, they're doing a salad.
That's good. You just described my breakfast. So anyway, keep going.
um, for lunch, they're doing something that's probably like, maybe a nice big salad, and then they're throwing steak on it, or grilled chicken. They're having beef jerky as a snack, and then for dinner they're having something like steak or pork and white potato, and then maybe something like corn. That's not healthy. That's not what the body requires. So the first thing, like I said, is getting the eating right, rehydrating the body. You need to be on specialty supplements, specifically things like enzyme supplements, to jumpstart the digestive system. You probably need a liver cleanse, a gallbladder cleanse, pancreas cleanse, and a lot of times, you have doctors out there who are just taking people's gallbladder out, and then they're just gaining all this weight. The gallbladder is responsible for releasing a bile that helps us to liquefy and digest our food. So, they're taking stuff out of the body that they really shouldn't be taking out of the body. And detox. So infrared saunas are fantastic. I'm a big fan of infrared sauna. Ionic detox foot baths, reflexology, lymphatic drainage massage.
Oh yeah, is that you like stand on a shaking plate or whatever? No.
That's one way to move the lymphatic system, but there is actually massage therapists who specialize in lymphatic drainage.
I've also heard cold exposure will make that happen. Do you suggest plunging?
That's a great technique too for detox. So there's the plunging, there's cryotherapy, there's a number of different detoxes out there that can help you get your body back to feeling better. We're only made up of cells and energy and electricity. So, if we're 80% water, we need to hydrate. So, if you combined all those things, the proper eating, plant-based or vegan, specialty supplements, detox, rehydration of the body, that is the best way to detox and get yourself back to a better place.
Is it possible to eat vegan and still be toxed?
Yeah, because I had this. I looked at this girl's blood a couple months, or maybe it was a month ago, and she's like, "I'm vegan." She's like, "How can this be? How do I have parasites? All these things." She's like, "I do water fast, I do juice fast." And she still wasn't absorbing anything. Why? Because her gallbladder was taken. Do you know how many doctors will just take out people's gallbladder? If you take out one important component of the system, you're not, you know what I mean? It's not going to work as it should. So, she had tried everything, and, I kind of told her what, the cost would be. And sometimes people are ready for the cost. Sometimes they're not ready for the cost. You know what I mean? Initially, people could spend $2,000 on a program with me, and it doesn't have to be all up front, but when you compare that to an insurance deductible, which most insurance deductibles are $2,500 to $5,000, it's a lot cheaper and you're going to get better results, doing it, a nutritional detox on your body.
Mm.
Yeah. It sounds like when people come to you, they're like at the point of no other answers. They're really struggling.
Yeah, I would say that, I detox my own body. So, I have, the nutritional certification and the years of experience. So, people, for me, it was like, I wasn't eating well. I was, a marketing executive in the biotech industry, and I was working from 6 a.m. until 7 o'clock at night. And then, by the time you get home, you're like, I don't feel like cooking, so, you're stopping at McDonald's and stuff like that and just eating horrible. But, it was one of those things where it was like, my result was back-to-back HIV and cancer diagnoses. So I knew I had to make a change, and I knew that if I didn't, I was going to die. I was crapping blood, there was blood coming out of my stool. So I was like, I have to change it. And, I don't think people realize that, the food that they're consuming, is just destroying their digestive tract. The latest statistic is, I think it's by 2030 that colorectal cancer is going to be among. I don't want to misquote here, but they're definitely putting it in the top 5.
Jeez.
Boy.
Well, it's sounding like it's less of a detox. It's more about fixing what you're putting in, right? Stopping before you get the toxins. How much of it should we be focusing on that? And how much do we still need the, whatever the foot soak is, or the actual taking the things out versus stopping before it even comes in?
Well, it's already in. I don't think there's, unless somebody's sitting there and they're like the boy or the girl in the bubble, it's
Trust me, I've tried. You can't be in a bubble.
So, people are, they're living with these things, they don't know any better, they don't know why did you see that article where, they're quoting Kanye West from one of his social media accounts saying that, Kim has more diarrhea than any normal person.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's got parasites. When you have chronic diarrhea, you have parasites. I have one of my good friends. I was talking to her the other day, and she was doing a heavy metal detox. She's like, "Oh my god!" She's like, within a few days of starting the zeolite spray, she's like, and if somebody's interested in doing a heavy metal detox, it's a tasteless spray. They can go on my website under the products recommendations, and then I'll say heavy metal.
So wait, spray. I just spray something in my mouth, and then my blood test will say that my mercury has gone down, my copper has gone down.
It could, you never know. But there's a number of different ways to pull heavy metals from the body. Activated charcoal powder and applying it to your armpits, your stomach, your feet. But zeolite spray is one method. Ionic detox, foot bath, infrared sauna. So, but again, these people are. They are so toxic that doing one thing is not going to work. If they're chronically sick, they need to be doing multiple things. So, but my friend, she was telling me how she, within a few days of doing the zeolite spray, she's like, she saw parasite, small worms come out in her stool. So, I mean,
well, that sounds like a result. That's a measurable
That's a
change.
result.
I know, right? Like, so, I mean, I think for people, seeing is believing. That's why, like the blood analysis. And if you go on my social media pages, my Instagram, detoxdayspa.com, you'll see a lot of these videos where, like I'm kind of going through like what the results of somebody's blood looks like. So, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, it's already inside of people. Like, people don't realize what they're living, like stomach bloat and constipation. It's a fungal overgrowth, hormonal issues, fibroids, like fungus, like, I mean,
That's candida. Is that right? I only because I wasn't sure.
yeah.
Okay.
Or mold. The other thing too is mold. I mean, and mold and fungus, candida, they're all in the same family, but you can be exposed to mold anywhere. I used to work or could do consulting for a doctor, and I would go in here and there, and you could see, and they're doctors, by the way. You could see in one of the corners there was like mold, and you're breathing those spores in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Apartments, older buildings, like, I mean, they paint over mold. I'm going to tell you right now, they paint over mold. They duct tape over it and paint over it. Like, I mean, and it really is. It's terrifying that, that these people would rather save their own butt than put somebody in like physical danger. And what these spores can do to the lungs too. Like, it's crazy. Like, I mean, if you've been around somebody who's constantly hacking,
it's very scary. And it's definitely something, if you're ever worried about it, or if anybody has any indication or whatever, that there might be mold in an old bathroom apartment, or their grandma's basement or whatever, definitely get it checked out, because it's very scary. It can affect you physically and mentally. There's lots of stories about it.
Oh yeah. And the other thing too is, like, and I'm sure you guys know people who do this, but washing your clothes and letting them sit for a day or two, not rewashing them and putting them in the dryer, and you're wearing mold.
Oh yeah.
Especially guys are big ones. I like, if I'm around them and I'm like, that smell, and then combined with their sweat, and then they're just taking it all on.
I did that once in college. I forgot. I washed my clothes and then I forgot about them for a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't on purpose, but I went back and I pulled them out of the washing machine. A bunch of spiders came running out. So if that doesn't scare everyone into drying their clothes immediately, I don't know what possibly could. It was horrifying. Yeah, it was not my proudest moment. Do you ever prescribe sweat or workouts that make you sweat, or saunas or infrared stuff like that? Or how helpful is stuff like that? Is sweating? Because we've had guys on the podcast that are like, oh yeah, I work out all the time and I haven't sweat in years. That's just not the type of workouts I do. And I always, in my heart of hearts, I thought, like, for example, when I'm feeling a little run down, or if I'm feeling hungover, sweat for me is a huge one. It makes me feel a lot better afterwards. Is that something you prescribe?
Yeah. I mean, the only way toxins are coming out of the body are sweat, urination, and bowel movement. So, you need to be right. 2 bowel movements a day. You should, be urinating multiple times a day, because you should be drinking a lot of water. You should be sweating. Now, the guys that you mentioned that said that they don't sweat, there's a genetic defect out there that affects 30 to 40% of the population. And I actually do the test. So you go to my website and order the test. But it's a DNA swab test to determine if you have one or more defect with the MTHFR gene, which is our detox gene. So that gene is responsible for creating methylation pathways inside of the body to and through like the liver and the kidneys and helping you to sweat out. These people who can't sweat are almost 100% always one or double defect with that gene. So, and then I test them and it's like, okay, it's what we thought.
Hmm.
Well, I did do a DNA test and it told me that that MTHFR was a little screwy and that I'm supposed to supplement with B12 or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And you have to avoid folic acid and make sure that you stick to your folate.
Yes, that's what
folic acid. Yeah, folic acid is the medical alternative to folate. So you want it naturally, because if the body can't recognize it, it stores it.
I have
anything.
I have the opposite. I just sweat, just sitting there.
Yeah, don't say sweat. He'll do it. It's like a yawn. Okay. Well, what's because you mentioned deodorant and tampons. I'm really scared about not stuff I'm eating, but yeah, those types of products. And what are the ones that you say just cut out, or how do you replace them? What are the worst ones that we should think about?
Well, for deodorants, for instance, you want to look for aluminum free. For like tampons, like obviously I don't use them, but there's specific ingredients in that. Perfumes, makeups are huge. There's so many toxins and those things that I just named, but again, if they go to my website and click on the offer from the little chat box, it'll take them to a page, and there's a hormonal detox which goes through all this information for people. Again, that's on detoxdayspa.com, so they can make that purchase, and everything's listed out for them on the toxins that are contained in hair dyes and lotions and microplastics, all that. So, I know you mentioned at the beginning, like it seems overwhelming. It is, it's overwhelming to think that, that our government has been overtaken by a corporate structure that, has multiple, businesses within, each conglomerate. And I think there's 6 to 8 conglomerates that have like a financial arm, a medical arm, a food arm. So they're all feeding each other by keeping us sick. You know what I mean? And that's pretty scary. It's it almost feels like a science fiction movie from the 70s or something, but it is our reality today, whether people are fully aware of it or not.
Well, speaking of buzzkills, I hate to ask, but how are we feeling about alcohol?
I don't have a problem with, alcohol. Beer's horrible. You want to avoid wines unless you're, drinking like non-toxic wines. And there are some brands out there. I forget the name of the one that I've tried a few times. And it's okay. But if you're going to do it, you want to stick to your white liquors like vodka, tequila. Avoid your dark liquors; those are full of sugar. So it's not that you have to cut those things out, but at the same time, know what's going to work better for your body, and know that drinking every day or binge drinking on the weekends it's not going to be healthy for your liver, because I think the latest statistic out there was like 60% of Americans have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So if you're adding alcohol into that, you're just making it worse on the liver.
Yeah. Let's say that perhaps we did have too many vodkas. How do the next day we get those toxins out? I've never tried putting charcoal on my armpits. I should be doing that the next morning. What the heck?
Yeah, you mix charcoal with baking soda, squeeze a lime over it, and pack it on the armpits. Tons of water. I mean, really, again, the only way toxins are coming, or go for a run. Drink some, detox tea. I have a great detox tea on my website. There's a number of different. Do a fruit flush. Eat fruit for the next 24 hours after you had a binge, Friday or Saturday night. So there's lots of alcohol is dehydrating. So if I don't know if you know this or not, but fruit, when we drink water, the body has to convert it to H3O2. So fruit already contains that. So the body doesn't, is able to skip that step when you do something like a fruit flush. So, if I don't really drink. So, if I were going to do that, kind of try and recover after, a night of drinking, it would be a fruit flush, and water.
And do you concern yourself at all with blood sugar spikes? Because that's why I'm, avoiding fruit by itself.
It's not the same type of sugar. Okay. So processed sugar, it impacts the pancreas like a zombie apocalypse. Overwhelms it. Now, fruit sugar does not. The body, there's enzymes and minerals within fruit that the body requires. If you're having an issue with blood sugar, it is not due to fruit. It is due to your pancreas not having the support it needs. And I have a pancreas cleanse on my website too. So, I always tell people, there's a difference between processed and natural sugar.
Interesting. Okay. Well, it sounds like your website and all of your guides is where the fit heads should head. Where can they all find that?
They can go to detoxdayspa.com. And on my website, they can click to go directly to my supplement store. They can click to book a consultation with me. They can send me a message on my website if they have questions. Obviously, I'm on all social media, Instagram, TikTok. Although I got locked out of my TikTok the other day, and I got 61,000 followers. So I had to create a new one
because of controversial views. Are you under 13? No, it nothing to do with that. Although I have gotten warnings from people or from TikTok about posting about certain content. So I just stepped up. No, I had my my TikTok on like a 2-step verification, and I ended up getting a new phone number. And the phone number
can't be reconnected by Verizon. So, they're basically like, well, we can't help you then. So, I don't know if they can help me. Great. Like if they can't, I've got I got a lot of followers on Facebook and Instagram. And so, somebody wants to, whatever they feel, however they feel comfortable sending me a message. They can go to the website, they can go to my Instagram, they can go to my Facebook. And I will do my best to answer questions and help them out.
Great.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you to the Fit Heads. If you can rate and review on Apple Podcasts, that helps us out a whole lot. I swear, we're going to do the Review Your Reviews episode soon, so get on it. And we will see you next week.